This is Arvin Vohra, founder of Vohra Method and author of The Equation for Excellence, How to Make Your Child Excel at Math. In this video, I'm going to explain how the Vohra Method checklists can tell you when you're ready to take your first attempt at the SAT or the ACT. Imagine for a moment that you're planning to run a 4-minute mile. Your goal is to run a 4-minute mile. Right now, you can do a 20-minute mile. You're not very close. You train. Over time, you can do a 15-minute mile, soon a 10-minute mile, soon an 8-minute mile, a 6-minute mile, soon even a 5-minute mile. You've made incredible progress. But you're not actually ready for a 4-minute mile attempt yet. Even though you have gotten a lot faster, the chances of you running a 4-minute mile are 0%. The Vohra Method checklist is a lot like that. It measures your ability just as much as it lets you know how much you've gained. Take a look at the math checklist over here. These are the required portions of the math checklist. In other words, these are the worksheets that everyone has to do. Unlike the responsive worksheets, which you only do if you actually get something wrong, these are the worksheets that everyone has to do. And what do you notice? There's not really that many of them. That means this: if you're really, really good at math, you're super advanced at math, if you're going to get an 800 in math on the SAT, to do all of this isn't going to take you more than a day or two. It'll take you a few hours, not very long, not even a week. That means if you're going through this and you have not gotten all the way through it, you haven't built up all the skills, you haven't done the needed responsive worksheets that are chosen specifically for you based on your gaps, if you haven't done all that yet, then there is, at this moment in time, basically a 0% chance of you getting above 750 on the math. Same thing with reading. If you haven't gotten there yet with the reading, if your reading report thing here doesn't say that you are 100% ready, then the chance of you getting above 750 on reading is basically 0. It's just like if you can run a 5-minute mile, the chance of you running a 4-minute mile are 0. Now, here's the thing. Even if you're at 100%, you might have nerves that day. There might be something else that throws you off. So even if you're at 100% ready for your first attempt, that doesn't mean you are 1000% guaranteed that on your first attempt you're going to get 1500. It just means that now taking an attempt at getting a 1500 isn't a total waste of time. Let's go back to that mile analogy. Suppose that your goal is to run a 4-minute mile and you can right now run a 6-minute mile. If you can run a 4-minute mile, you win. If you can't, nothing great happens. If you can run a 6-minute mile, while that's impressive, the chances of you running a 4-minute mile are 0. Similarly, if this number over here is anything less than 100%, the chances of you getting above 750 on a given section or above 1500 on the SAT is basically 0. Now, if you're at 100%, you have a really, really good chance of getting above 1500. You have above a 95% chance of getting above a 1500 if this number says 100%. What about the remaining 5%? Well, just like with chemistry, you have chemistry and then you have AP chemistry, and AP chemistry is harder and more complex. At Vohra Method, we have something kind of similar. Basically, if you get to 100% on here, you do all these worksheets, whatever responsive worksheet that you specifically need based on your specific gaps and skills that you still need to build. If you do all that, then you take a test after getting 100, not a 99, not a 93, not anything else, and you don't get above a 1500, then we have a whole next level of training for free. Now, that next level is just as complicated as the first level. In fact, it's a little bit harder than the first level. It takes a little bit longer. You're going to struggle a little bit more, just in the same way that AP chemistry is harder than regular chemistry. Even if you've taken a regular chemistry class, that AP chemistry class will be harder for you than the regular chemistry class was. And that's kind of how post-checklist training is at Vohra Method. It is harder than regular training. The biggest mistake that I see people make is this. They say, all right, I'm at 80%. That means I'm about there. So maybe I'll take it now. 80% ready does not mean you have an 80% chance of getting a 1500. It means you have a 0% chance of getting a 1500. In the same way that someone who can run a 6-minute mile has a 0% chance of running a 4-minute mile. If you could get a 1500, if you could get above 750 on math, say, you'd be able to finish all of this in a few hours. It wouldn't be something that would be taking you weeks and weeks and weeks. So if you have not built the skills, if this says anything less than 100%, it means that you haven't built the skills. It means your skills are not there. It doesn't mean you didn't do enough homework or something. Doesn't mean you didn't do enough busy work. It doesn't mean you didn't do enough problems. It means at this moment, based on our very, very, very accurate measurement of your skills, you do not have a chance of getting above a 1500 on this particular attempt. In politics, people often say that the facts don't care about your feelings. And the same is true here. You can approach the SAT through wishful thinking and emotion, and it's going to get you nowhere. Or you can do it by thinking about facts, logic, reason, and reality, and you're going to make incredible improvements. And every year, many Vohra method students get above 1500, and that's a top 1% score. But remember, a top 1% score is what 99% of people cannot do. Not that they don't want to, they cannot do it. And you're going to be part of that top 1%. Here's the biggest mistake, though. People get to say 80% on here, and they'll take an official test, wait for their score, dilly-dally. It'll take several weeks. They'll get a score that's too low. They'll come back into Vohra method for a week. Then they'll take another test, another official test, waste more time waiting. And at the end, the process, instead of taking 3 or 4 or 5 months to actually get ready, they might spend well over a year but fail to actually get ready. Why? Because they're just wasting time doing test after test after test, not doing any training in between, not doing enough training in between. And a student who could easily have broken 1500 ends up getting nowhere close because they simply didn't do the training. So remember this. If this number is not at 100%, you're not yet ready for your first attempt, let alone your last attempt. This number at 100% will let you know. When this number is at 100%, that'll let you know that you're ready for your first official attempt, at which point you'll have a very high chance of getting above 1500. But even in that case, you might need some of that additional training. Remember that additional training is free. That's how confident we are that that first level of training is going to get you there. But we are equally confident that if you are at a 99% over here, that there is a 0% chance of you getting above 1500. Make sure that this is at 100% before your first official SAT attempt.